Field redemption. The blue, cloudless sky and its September sun provided the perfect backdrop to greet university students in the fall of 1987. The University of Rhode Island is situated in Kingston, about 10 miles or so inland from the nearest ocean wave. It's nestled on a hillside with the gymnasium complex and sporting fields anchoring the base of the incline. Dormitories and housing units would lead the progression upward to the cafeteria and the Memorial Union, with all the various academic buildings adorning the summit. In typical New England fashion, many of the buildings were built out of stones, giving the allure of colonial history and charm. The university was known for the quadrangle, a large, perfectly manicured grassy area complete with cement walkways and benches. Surrounding the square were these remnants of colonial education buildings like a 150-year-old monopoly board. I stood there amazed by this patch of earth teeming with life. The air was one of freedom and exploration. Its alluring taste comes out of the shadows of memory and moistens my lips even now. I can hear the strum of an acoustic guitar synchronized with the early fall breeze that washes over me. Students hustling, laughter, and the eyes of wonder were the course of the day as I delved into my freshman year. Jimmy reached the quad on the second full day of school, a young man on a mission. Once again, he was in the land of team swag and searching for the prized sighting. The rowing team, or crew as it is called in the United States, have the coolest, most original jackets designed specifically for the sport. The brown varsity jackets of high school seemed to pale in comparison. These majestic offerings were dark blue with white stripes on the cuffs. A white zipper extended from another white striped collar down to mid-chest. The white logo on the front were the letters URI in the shape of a boat with a rower sitting on top. The back was bold, big white letters proudly stated Rhode Island Crew. To top it all off was the unique butt covering, an extra piece of material that was longer and hung down over the ass to keep it dry. I don't know if the Red Sea parted for the Big M or not, nor do I recall myself standing on a precipice with a rod and staff. I certainly didn't have a long-ass beard, that's for sure. However, my head was on a damn swivel, and when I caught a glimpse of two beautiful blue jackets appearing through the parting of passing students, a light from the heavens shone down on me, and the angels approached. The two women, clad in their spiffy blue outerwear, came right up to me, waving a piece of paper. Little did I know it would be the key to everything I would ever want in life, or at least the courage to search for it. The paper read Monday, 7:30 p.m., room 101. Thankfully, I can go back to the moment that started it all at will, and do often. Sometimes I see Jimmy sitting there, always early, and nervously watching the large classroom fill up with interested young men and women. Sometimes I decide to join him, folding down the auditorium seat next to my younger self, and watch everything unfold together. I know what the future held that evening for the boy next to me, but Jimmy did not. He sat there wondering, pondering if any of these strangers that filled the seats would become his blood brothers in battle. I know one thing for sure. My younger self wanted to know if rowing was as cool as Rob Lowe and Oxford Blues made it out to be. The lights dimmed, the projector came to life, and on the large white screen began a Welcome to Rhode Island Crew montage video, complete with epic music and imagery. It only took U2's Stadium Anthem, Where the Streets Have No Name, to play for 30 seconds until Jimmy and many of the others fell under the spell and heard the call that night. Rowing would become his rock, his lighthouse to weather all the crashing storms in his life. His first test would be the very next day, a novice team run which would commence at the field behind the gymnasium at precisely 4 p.m. Oh, and it would be a 3-mile run to boot. The puffer shot its airy juice into Jimmy's lungs. He wished its sound wouldn't. He wished its sound was a bit more subtle, so it didn't announce to the world his vulnerability. 30 new potential recruits filled the grassy area behind the gym. Out of those attending, only about 12 were men, the rest women. The novice coach, Mark, who was a former rower himself, stepped up and took command. He laid the groundwork for the 3 mile run, number of loops required, fitness is first and rowing second kind of stuff. As clear as day, Jimmy heard him proclaim, "This is not a race." Jimmy gathered himself and eyed two young men in particular edging towards the front of the line as if getting a clear trajectory for the speed they would unleash. Jim and Greg were two best friends from the same town in New Hampshire and would become part of Jimmy's brotherhood, which commenced in 3, 2, 1, go, the coach yelled. "This is not a race" immediately fired off in Jimmy's mind in response to both Jim and Greg blowing off the line like a sprint. It was followed by "What the hell" news bulletin. It was followed by a "What the hell" news bulletin as Jimmy wasn't in Kansas anymore. He had never attempted to run this far. Hell, he had never run more than half a mile, and that was with walk intervals. Flashbacks from walking around the field at middle school before losing the coin toss for that final basketball spot replayed like a bad song in his head over and over. But the boy from Sidot kept pushing forward despite his lungs crying out. He was able to keep the shortness of breath in check, periodically slowing to a small trot while he fumbled for his inhaler along for the ride in his shorts pocket. In what seemed like an eternity, he turned the last corner and headed down the final stretch, trying his best to pick up the pace. Those two field voices that accompanied two very different school experiences sit with me now, like voices perched atop my shoulder. The horned one is a field of shame, loneliness, and failure, with its forked tongue feeding my younger self with limitations and fear. And then there's the hallowed one. One, whereas an 18-year-old, I witnessed all the boys, led by Jim and Greg, standing at the finish line, cheering me, a stranger, to the end. There was the sense of strength and unity that is still hard to put in words all these years later. I still get emotional about it as an older man when I tell of the moment that I crossed the line and saw them. That on-screen brotherhood was now a reality. Jimmy officially entered the world of crew.